Hi everyone. So I have 7 minutes to share from Exodus chapter 18. Let me give you the context of this passage, which is Exodus chapter 18. In this passage, it talks about it is a time where Israelites and Moses, they had just left Egypt for more than 2 months. So now they are in this place, somewhere nowhere. And in this passage, you see Jethro, who is Moses' father-in-law, coming to visit him because he heard of all the great things that God had done. So from verse 1 to verse 12, you could see that Moses shared to Jethro he gave testimony of how good God was to them and how God delivered them. And then I think that it's very interesting when you look at Exodus 18 verse 13. You could see that there's a turning point in this passage in verse 13. If you could see, it says that, and so it was on the next day that Moses sat to judge the people, and the people stood before Moses from morning until evening. The day before verse 13, you could see that Jethro was very impressed for what God has done to Israelites, and you could see that Jethro was giving thanks to God. And as a father-in-law, from what I see is that he's quite proud of Moses as a leader. And then when you look at verse 13, right? Can I ask you one question? Moses as a leader, do you think what he's doing all this while, was it good or bad? Moses, he led them through the Red Sea.
Good.
It was good, right?
Yeah.
It was all good. But then in verse 13, even Jethro think that what he was doing was good. But until verse 13, all the way to verse 16, you could see that something happened, and Jethro wasn't that pleased with it. What was it? He sat down. Okay. He judged from morning till evening. Alright. So Jethro saw that it was a problem. It was good or not good? It was not good, right? And I was wondering, all this while, right, Moses, from the time he led the people out of Israelites, before that, my title for my message is How to Grow in Wisdom. So Moses, from the time he led people out of Egypt, all this while, who is the one that he's been listening to? Who was the one that has always gave him direction and advice?
God.
It was God, right?
Yeah.
And I find that it's very interesting in chapter 18. You see, if you put yourself in Moses' shoe, right? If you are Moses, all this while you've been listening to God, and now your father-in-law giving you guidance, giving you advice. Can I ask you, how willing are you to listen to your father-in-law?
Not willing.
Not willing, right? Because because partly father-in-law, but I think that if I'm Moses, right, I would be thinking to myself, hey, come on, if what I've been doing all this while, which is helping people to solve their problem from morning till evening, if it's not good, wouldn't God tell me himself? That is something that I would be thinking about. And then I think we all know what happened, how Moses responded to Jethro. Is that what did he do? Did he disobey?
No.
Did he not listen? What did Moses do? If you could see in verse 24, it says that, so Moses heeded the voice of his father-in-law and did all that he had said. The word heeded is very it has a very significant meaning. It means that he paid attention. Okay. I think that this is what I gathered lah. For us to grow in wisdom, what we can learn from this passage, just two things. Number one, it is to listen, and what should we listen to? Who should we listen to? Number one, of course, is God, right? And number two is our authority. If we could turn to 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 5. Likewise, you younger people, submit yourself to your elders. Yes, all of you be submissive to one another and be clothed with humility, for God resists the proud but give grace to the humble. I believe that all of us are under authority, and in this verse, we are reminded that we should submit to the authority, and can you imagine father-in-law? I mean, like we all know the in-laws. It's harder for us to listen to people, especially our in-laws, right? So one thing that I learned is that sometimes for us to grow in wisdom, we need to learn to listen to our authority, even when it's difficult for us to listen, to obey. Alright, and so for us to grow in wisdom, number one is listen, right? And number two is obedient. Alright, why obedient? Why not we grow in wisdom by doing, putting what we hear into action? Well, that's because obedient means that have you ever heard people say, have you ever experienced before where your mom asks you to throw rubbish, like you do it but you're not willing? Alright, you still do it but you're not willing. That's why that's why I say that we need to be obedient, is because you're not just doing it for the sake of doing it, but you're doing it willingly. So for us to grow in wisdom is to listen to God and to authority, and number two, to be obedient, to do it, not just to doing it, but to be willing. Alright, so I'll end with Proverbs chapter 12 verse 15. It says that the way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he who heeds counsel is wiser. With this I end. You can be right in your own eyes, but you can be wise when you learn to listen. So that's all.